You were about to say, speaking of ghost stories,
I said,
what?
speaking of ghost stories, okay, did you change the clock in my car? Because, like, it was an hour behind. It was an hour behind. An hour and 30 minutes behind. Like an hour and 32 minutes. So it's not like, oh, you thought, oh, Lacey didn't change it for daylight savings, so I'm going to, like, change the hour. It's like you changed the hour and 32 minutes.
32 minutes is probably the amount of time the car was off and then on again with the new battery. And I took it...
And an hour?
Well, I took it around the noon to 1 o'clock time, so chances are it's all coincidental.
Okay.
Because when they do the battery, the clock resets.
Are you serious? Because I was like, what the heck? Because I had it at the right time.
Right. I mean, I know we have a ghost podcast.
So then did you mess with the hours? So it was an hour and a half?
I didn't mess with anything. I'm not going to spend my time messing with your car clock. So I would imagine that...
I feel like that is something you would do. So don't act like that's beneath you. Because that would be something
It
that
is
you do.
beneath me. It is completely beneath me.
Can we say, hi, I'm Lacey, and this is Steven, and it's the midnight edition of...
I kind of like the midnight edition, to be honest with you. Like,
This is where I start acting crazy because it's midnight.
because here's the thing. Do I really want to add something else to my weekend, every single weekend, film this dumb ghost podcast? I mean, this awesome ghost podcast.
You're so rude. He
But
just
like,
doesn't
if
like
this is at
spending
the
time
end of
with
the
me.
day, we toss a couple stories together, we're good to go.
He's so rude. He doesn't want to spend any time with me. So
I spend too much time with you. I spend a lot of time. I spend a lot of time with you. I don't know why you interrupt my stories all the time.
well, you know, you take forever to get to the point. So
For the audio listeners, you can hear me open a book. This is how I open a book. I'm doing this. Today,
why don't you just use regular sound effects?
Today we're going to go, because that would take more time from this fruitless endeavor. Another story from Real Ghost
This is our favorite book
Real
ever.
Ghost Stories from Brad Steiger, published by Fall River. And it's true tales of terrifying spirits in haunted places. Au contraire, Mr. Steiger, because today we're going to talk about Brownie, the ghost dog of Daytona Beach.
Nice.
Now
We're talking about Pupper.
Oh,
He's
baby.
cute.
Oh, I want to lick his little face and cuddle with him.
You're going to lick his face? Is
Sometimes
that what you
I
said?
lick Gypsy's face.
Ew.
I go like this. She'll like start licking my mouth, and I'll go.
Oh, you are so gross. Please stop talking. Is that real?
No, I don't do that.
Okay.
I get
Whoa.
grossed out. Sometimes her tongue does make it in my mouth,
Ew, what is your problem?
and I do get grossed out by that
I would too. I'm grossed out by it.
because she licks her butthole, and then I kiss you.
Ew, I know. We're not kissing anymore. That's it. Sorry.
Wow.
You grossed me out.
Divorce cast.
Right, divorce cast.
I'm gonna call.
That's what this is
Mr.
going to turn into. I know it.
It's already there, man. It's already there. All right. So you want to hear about Brownie the
Sure.
ghost dog?
Yes, I do. Please tell me.
Now, this actually is, according to this book, Brad Steiger's Real Ghost Stories,
This is my favorite book.
a personal investigation by Dusty Smith, the founder of the Daytona Beach Physical Research Group, which you can learn more about at www.dbprginc.org.
Nice.
So, here goes the
Dusty
story
Smith.
of Brownie the ghost dog. And then we're going to have some reader stories.
Yeah, exciting. I got one from England.
We need more, by the way. We have
Yeah,
our first,
you guys send us more.
we have our first one on the Discord. We've got one on the Discord.
Ooh,
You
exciting.
can get a link to our Discord.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll actually get on the Discord this week
Yes.
and like talk to people.
I'm about that. I like
right.
talking to people.
All right.
Oh, hold on.
Speaking of dogs, there's ours.
We need to
scratching.
listen to this one. She needs attention, so she's going to scratch for a minute.
Lay down, bug. All right.
Oh.
At one
Still
time,
has a cone on.
At one time, the popular resident of the Daytona. I'm sorry. At one time, the most popular resident of the Daytona Beach
We have the sound
downtown
effects.
business area, exactly, did not come in the form of human. The most popular ambassador Daytona Beach has ever had was a dog that came to be called Brownie. Somehow, this weary yet wise canine traveler made his way to Daytona Beach. Like many before him, and many more after him, Brownie explored the sidewalks and storefronts of Beach Street for several days before staking a claim. Brownie's first and best friend was Ed Budgeon Sr., the owner of the Daytona Cab Company, located on the corner of Orange Avenue and Beach Street. So if anybody is in Daytona, they can go there and meet.
Brownie?
Well, maybe Ed Budgeon Jr.
Okay.
Or maybe Brownie the ghost dog. We'll find out. When Brownie met Ed, he offered Brownie part of his lunch. Oh, good job.
Oh,
Ed.
that's a best.
I always eat when
Oh, please tell me what you do.
you do this
probably-
thing. I was just gonna say how many scraps I give Gypsy.
Oh, yeah.
What does she want? Oh, the leftover Pop-Tarts over there.
All right.
That's gonna be a thing. I'll continue while you do that. So when Brownie met Ed, he offered Brownie part of his lunch. Being the smart and resourceful dog he was, Brownie gladly accepted the free meal. Brownie quickly learned how to capitalize on this gracious human trait. Many of the downtown workers and restaurant owners would feed him scraps on a regular basis. Who does this actually remind you of?
Turbo.
No. Bubba.
Oh, Bubba.
We used to have a next door neighbor dog named Bubba. I mean, we had next door neighbors, but they had a dog. It wasn't Bubba's house. But Bubba used to come to our front door. I used to leave just the security gate closed, and Bubba would just show up, and I'd say, "Oh, hey, Bubba, here you go." And I'd go get him some little Beggins treats, and he'd take him. I'd say, "Okay, you got to go home now." And he would go, "No, no." And then he would go to the next door, and he would
get
go.
treats. He'd go around the whole but it was
court.
so cute because it would be like he rang the doorbell. He didn't, but he'd just be at the security gate.
He would just wait patiently.
Just wait until we see him
Say, "Hey,
and hear
Bubba."
his little collar.
And then, like a couple weeks ago, we drove by our old house, which we haven't been there in 7 years, and we saw our old neighbors, and they said, "Hey." And we're like, "Hey, how's Bubba?" Because every time I ask him that on the once a year that we drive by there, I'm afraid that Bubba has passed because it's been so long. And he says, "Oh, he's good. His hips are still hurting." And out comes old Bubba.
Old Bubba.
Roar.
Okay, Jip.
Super gray. Look at our dumb dog. Okay, so
This is a dog cast.
yeah, Brownie took up residency at the Daytona Cab Company. Brownie's new friend Ed even made him a doghouse from a cardboard box.
Oh, that's
Eventually, Brownie's home became a bit more upscale. It was quite an elaborate home, complete with Brownie's name on it and a collection box. Many people donated to the Brownie Care Fund. This fund would provide food, veterinary care, and money for Brownie's annual license. One local resident remembers that Brownie became a Daytona resident in 1940. At that time, downtown shopping was popular. Brownie quickly became known as the town dog. It was customary to greet Brownie on a shopping spree. His reply would always be a wag of his tail, as opposed to Gypsy's, which is just barking at you.
right. I love it.
So Brownie became a trusted companion to many of the local cab drivers. He took it upon himself to accompany the police on their nightly rounds. Brownie would assist the officers by sniffing at shadows in dark alleys, and he would stand beside officers while they checked on local businesses. Brownie's fame grew, but his ego didn't. Even after being written up in national magazines and newspapers as Daytona Beach's dog, as they walked and shopped along Beach Street, many visiting tourists would seek Brownie out in order to have their picture taken with the country's most popular dog. Ed's wife, Doris, remembers Brownie getting Christmas cards and presents from all over the country. Doris would respond on Brownie's behalf and include a photo of the famous dog. Brownie passed of old age in October of 1954. Many fine folks from across the country felt the loss and sent letters and cards of condolence. Brownie's bank account had a Brownie's bank account. Brownie's debit cards were all canceled. His line of credit at the bank expired.
Oh. It's good. It's fine.
So his bank account had enough money to purchase a headstone and construct a plywood casket. City officials provided a resting place in Riverfront Park, which is directly across from the place that Brownie had spent the best years of his life. There were 75 people in attendance, including 4 pallbearers at Brownie's funeral.
Oh.
I probably won't even have like half of that at my funeral. Yeah, so 75 people were in attendance. As Mayor Jack Tam stated in Brownie's eulogy, Brownie was indeed a good dog. Many shed a tear. Now that I have told you about Brownie's life in this world, let me tell you how I met Brownie in the next world. On one of our little outings, I decided it might be worthwhile to go and visit Brownie's resting place. We arrived at Riverfront Park at 11 p.m. I took off in one direction, and my fellow researchers, Kyle and Tracy, went in the opposite direction. Normally, we would stick together, but we had no idea exactly where Brownie was buried. Riverfront Park is quite large with many fish ponds, small footpaths and bridges, and beautiful gardens. I walked to the south and they went north. My radar must have been in tune that night because I walked straight to Brownie's grave. When I turned around to see where Kyle and Tracy had gotten to, they were completely out of sight. I decided to have a little chat with Brownie and take a few pictures. I introduced myself and explained to him how I had read about how famous and humble he had been. I noticed the shrub to the north of his headstone was supposed to be in the shape of a dog, but was a bit lacking. Boxwoods can be hard to train sometimes, especially when they are so close to a saltwater source. Anyhow, I noticed how wonderful Brownie's headstone was. The mayor's quote that Brownie had been a good dog was inscribed at the bottom. As I stood there thinking about what a wonderful impact Brownie had had on this town and the folks who were lucky enough to encounter him, I suddenly felt sad. I wondered how many people still remembered this fine animal. Obviously, the grass was mowed on a regular basis, but how many even knew of this location? Did someone still come and talk to Brownie? Did anyone ever bring him flowers or maybe lay a dog biscuit down for him? Did Brownie still recall what it felt like to be petted? My belief is that we take these feelings and thoughts onto the other side with us. How sad would it be if no one remembered to remember us? I realize that in 100 years there will be no one around to remember who and how we really were. But couldn't someone make the afterlife a little special for this obviously special dog? Yep, you're right. It would be me. I decided at that moment to take Brownie on as my very own spiritual pet. I would visit him as often as I could, talk to him, offer him biscuits, or as they are known in my house, cookies. I swear to God, if this doesn't actually have the ghost of Brownie in this, and not just this nutcase who decided to have like a spirit dog, I'm going to be very disappointed.
I like that you haven't read this story before.
No.
In preparation.
No. No preparation? Dubious. I noticed a
Welcome to That's Not Scary.
Yeah. I noticed a park bench just west of Brownie's place of rest. It seemed to be so inviting. Sitting on a park bench, dog at your side, listening to the wind and watching the traffic go by. I told Brownie that if he cared to join me, I would be more than happy to sit with him for a while. After several minutes, I felt warmth at my left leg. Could it have been Brownie? Or just a warm breeze coming in off the intercoastal waterway? Just then I noticed Kyle and Tracy headed my way. The warmth was gone. He says the warmth was gone. He hates Kyle and Tracy. He was like, ghost dog, attack, ghost dog.
My spirit dog.
My spirit dog.
Go attack.
Go for the jugular, spirit dog. I spoke to Brownie again. Thank you for taking the time to sit with me. I needed to feel a loyal friend tonight. I do hope you...
Because Kyle and Tracy aren't them.
They are not loyal at all. Fucking Kyle. I do hope you'll reveal yourself in a picture. You are a good dog, I said. I snapped a picture of where I had been sitting with what I felt was my new friend Brownie the spirit dog. I looked at the LCD screen on the digital camera and noticed a bright orb in front of the palm tree. Nah, man. Nah.
Steven. It was Brownie.
When we returned home and viewed the digital photos, I was delighted.
Got a picture as the Brownie's boy.
Not only had we gotten some decent orb activity, Brownie had made his presence known. I looked at the picture for less than 2 seconds before realizing it had a face in it. Not an ordinary face, though. Brownie's face. It seems to me that this famous ambassador is still doing his job, sitting next to visitors or weary travelers in a cool, shady corner of the park. Just not Kyle or Tracy. Keeping an eye on the passing traffic, walking alongside pets that still reside in this world, maybe even romping through the park to visit with other worldly residents. Whatever the case, Brownie is still doing his job.
Oh, that's a best Brownie boy.
Here's a picture of the Brownie orb. Can you see a dog in there?
I see a circle.
I see there's an orb. Can you see a dog there? I see a dog back there.
A sad doggy.
That's a dummy dog, though.
That's a dummy dog.
So this is just a guy who wanted so bad to have a spirit dog.
He saw an orb. Leave him alone. He saw Brownie. He saw something.
He so hated his partners, Kyle and Tracy. He was like, you guys need to go. Guys, just go that way. I'm going to go this way. Like, he knew where the dog was buried. That's how he came upon it.
Right.
He was just like, yeah, I don't know where it is. It's not this way.
So don't go this way.
So don't go that way. Just go that way, Kyle and Tracy. All right?
I'm going to go see. Something to do.
I'm going to go see my ghost dog. All right. All right. Let's get on to the stories now.
The actual stories.
The actual stories that we have from the. We don't have a name for our listeners. We don't have a name for the community yet.
We can't use Friendos because that's taken.
That's taken. Some other dummy podcast has Friendos.
Yeah,
so we can't use that. We'll figure something out. I don't know what, but we'll figure something out.
Any suggestions? Let us know.
You know, it's not something cheesy. I guess Friendos is cheesy.
I like Friendos. Friendos.
Me too. All right. So our first story today is from exactly the person known as
Seth.
Seth. Thank you. It's Seth's story. As I bring this document up, here we go. All right. Midnight podcast indeed.
Yes, indeed.
So a lot of people have I've noticed in these stories that we've sent. By the way, we need your stories. Even if you have a story that somebody else told you one time.
Yeah, we'll take it. I like reading your stories. They're fun.
You can either drop it in the Discord. The link is in the description of this episode. Or you can email it to us at that'snotscarypod@gmail.com. She likes to interrupt me even when I'm doing an email address.
Sorry.
What's your excuse for when I say the email address?
Oh my god.
I'm saying what it is.
Steven.
All right, here we go. Well, I just gotta,
Gotta what?
get that out.
Okay.
This is from Seth.
It's out.
A lot of you have stories that just messed up houses that you lived at.
I know.
And that's one of Seth's. He says, I have a story from 10 years ago when I was about 11 or 12. I was on the computer at the house I lived in at the time. I got off the computer to head down the hallway to my room. Before I continue the story, I have to give you the layout of this hallway. There were 4 rooms that connected to this hallway. In the first set of rooms, on the left side was my sister's room, and across that hall was the bathroom. At the end of the hall on the left was my room, then across the way was my parents' room. Now continuing on to the story.
That's kind of how my house was set up a little bit.
A hallway with rooms.
Yeah, but how he explained it, the bathroom is across from one of the bedrooms, and then there's 2 bedrooms.
I would love somebody to try to explain this house, because I always explain
this house is like a circle.
I explain it as a donut, and then my office is the donut hole.
Yeah.
It's the middle of the donut. Have you ever seen a donut hole be made?
No?
I would like to. Does it start off as like a disc and then they make the donut hole out of it? Or donut holes they're just called that? They're not actually the hole.
I doubt they're actually
They're just rolled up balls of fried dough.
Yeah. Okay. I don't even know where that went.
My curiosity about donuts. Anyways, there were 4 rooms. Yeah, we got to that. Okay. Continuing the story, I was heading down the hallway on my way to my room. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a figure standing in the doorway of the bathroom, and the light was on, which is how I made out the figure. I only saw it for a second, but it caught me off guard because I thought it was Dad, and I was wondering why he just was standing there like that. So I backtracked to the bathroom hallway. I looked at the doorway, and there was no one there, and the light is off. I thought, maybe, okay, my dad is pranking me or something. So I continued down my original path, and before I entered my room, I saw my dad on his computer in the room. I asked him if he was just in the bathroom, even though in the back of my mind I knew it had been impossible for it to be my dad and him to have somehow gotten around me without me noticing. Until that point, I was mostly skeptical on the paranormal. After the realization of that it wasn't my dad, I was afraid to go into the bathroom for most of the day. I never told anyone this story until now. To this day, I have no explanation, because at that time of the day, only my dad and I were home. It was definitely a surreal experience.
Ooh, that's super scary.
That is scary.
I wouldn't want to go in the bathroom either.
I would get a chamber pot.
I know. You would. That is something you would do.
I've considered it for this office.
Ew, no.
No good?
No.
No bueno?
You wouldn't dump it. And we're not in the 1800s.
I know, it's a bummer. Oh, you know.
You just want to be like the most disgusting.
Not the most disgusting.
Just a little bit disgusting.
I just want to live simply. What's wrong with that? I want to take it back.
That's not where we're going
no?
with this. No.
All right. Well, what a bummer. So, yeah, that's scary. I mean, kind of. I mean, it's scary that he couldn't go to the bathroom the rest of the day. He's just sitting there.
Steven. Don't always have to do jokes.
Yeah. 11 or 12-year-old just farting in his own room. Can't go to the bathroom. Holding it in.
And just have to go with the door open.
They're like, what's in that water bottle? It's a bunch of pee.
Oh no, that's
peed
not
in the
good.
water bottle.
So gross.
Disgusting.
Disgusting. So I have one from Alexandria.
Alexandra.
Oh, Alexandra. Sorry. I've been listening, watching your podcast, and I thought I'd send you my experience. So a little bit of background. I live in England.
Ooh.
My house at the time was built in or around the 60s. My mom is a single parent and was training to be a midwife at the time. So about 14-ish years ago, when I was around 15, I was alone in the house. My mom was on a night shift. I was in bed, just finished watching a movie, and I had turned around, facing the wall, to settle down to sleep. I woke up not long after as I heard a noise in my room. I thought it was the cats messing about. We had 2 at the time. Didn't think much of it, and I pulled the duvet a bit tighter and cuddled down. This was when I heard something move across my bedroom. I had wooden flooring. Felt the covers lift behind me and slide in.
No good.
I froze for a second, slowly turning over.
Bad move.
Thinking maybe it was one of the cats. Nothing was there, but there was a dip in the pillow as if there was a head laying on it. I bolted down the stairs and sat with all the lights on and the TV on until my mom got home. This wasn't the only time things happened in that house. We had a painting that I did that hung at the top of the stairs that was thrown across the landing into my mom's room. I also had a Barbie that would move on its own, move across the room, etc. The cats would hate to go in my room. You could drop them over the threshold and they would run out of the room or sit at the bottom of the stairs and stare at the top, but wouldn't go upstairs. I would wake up at night and a dark figure would be standing in the doorway watching me. At first I thought it was my dad, my stepdad, but when I asked, he denied it, or he wouldn't be there as he worked away during the week. It was a strange house. Again, all the best, Alex.
With these houses. I've been reading a book. I just started reading a book because now that we're doing this podcast called... It's like, what is it called? I think it's called like a natural history of ghosts.
That's cool.
Let me double check it. Here we go. Perfect. Yeah, it's called Ghosts, A Natural History, 500 Years of Searching for Proof by Roger Clark.
Ooh.
Now, I came across this book because just recently the BBC radio channel, whatever it's called, did like a show where they basically ripped off the title of this book.
Oh, yeah. I remember you saying something about that.
And he, like, tweeted at them and was like, hey, so what's going on? Like, this is a book that you, like, the host of it, right, you reviewed this book.
And put it on, like...
And, like, recommended it.
Right.
And now you're like... And this person was not... Mr. Clark was not contacted, not participating. And
in any of the show at all?
No, he was not contacted. Man. And they just stole like the name of it, and the host replied, "Well, I've never heard of this book." Well, you recommended it.
Recommended
like when it came out 3 years ago.
Whoa!
So I was like, you know what? That's a miscarriage of justice. I'm gonna order this book, so at least this fella gets a sale.
Right.
So yeah,
That's
check out the
good.
book, not the show. The book, Ghosts: A Natural History, 500 Years of Searching for Proof. And he talks about just how haunted England is. Which is not shocking at all.
It's not shocking.
Because, and he goes into
so-
detail about like the Tower of London.
Oh, I love that.
And just that alone.
I couldn't imagine. We went there twice.
I know.
It was kind of creepy. I'd like to go there at night. That would be so much fun.
He had access like after everybody left.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
It was just, and you know, he runs down all these different stories. And that's just in like the forward. It's just like the very beginning of the book.
That's cool. So you like it? It's really good?
So far, it's really good. It's really well
Okay.
written. The guy's, you know, pretty much as much of an expert you can get about the stuff. And he talks about just how haunted, like England is a very, very, and it's not shocking. I mean, given their history, they were absolutely brutal with their kings and
Punishments.
queens
I know.
and the torture devices that they would have. They were very creative with their torture devices.
Yeah, they were. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. It was intense.
So yeah, England, just chock full of the ghosts, man.
I know. It's great.
Let's see here. Next up, we've got a fairly lengthy one from Peter. Peter says this. Just want to start off by saying I've been loving the new podcast. Came over from going in raw to support the new podcast, but stayed because of the hilarious banter between yourself and Lacey and the enjoyable content that helps pass the time
I just yell at him.
at work.
That's
Yeah,
all.
that's the enjoyable content. It's
I think
Lacey.
most people just want to yell at you, so it's great. I'm fulfilling their what they'd like to do.
They can vicariously live through you.
Correct.
Yelling at me.
Correct.
So, my paranormal, ghostly experiences have always been at my parents' house. So, again, these parents out there buying these, they're not getting,
They get them reduced rates, man.
they're not doing their due diligence. Yeah, right? It's like,
Somebody was murdered in here.
Listen,
cool. We'll knock off the price.
yeah,
I'm on it. Let's do it.
let's do it.
Sign the papers now.
It's a tough market right now. So let's get in that house. I don't care.
Like
who
I
died
feel
there.
like in England, like probably
It's like all
every
the
house
houses.
is like
Every
has somebody
house.
murdered or killed or whatever. I don't know because it's so old.
Because everybody, yeah.
No,
exactly.
because it's like been around forever.
Like the number one method of death there throughout most of their time has been like, you know, beheadings and
Well, I'm just saying like America's like relatively new in time.
we have our own violent history, but we're much more ashamed of ours. We try to like ignore our violent history.
Well, we're relatively new, like I
It's-
said.
it's so messed up. I know, yeah. With the British, it's like
They've been around for a long time.
it was like, oh yeah, 500 years ago, so we can talk about how messed up it was.
right, exactly.
So
That was a side.
yeah, I know. She's not happy that we're sitting right next to each other. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
No, and me. Okay, so in 1994, my family moved to a home.
Hold on, I'm just gonna stop. The reason why she's acting like this, because it is midnight, and she wants us to go to bed because she is tired.
Yeah,
So she wants us to both go to bed.
yeah.
So that's why she's being disruptive.
So in 1994, my family moved to a home in the southwest suburbs of Chicago. It was my parents, my older sister, 12 at the time, and myself in a 4-bedroom ranch-style house. I was 7 at the time we moved into the home, but even at that early age, something always felt off about the house. When we first moved in, I would say the paranormal activity started off slow. It would feel like you were being watched, or you'd always see something in the corner of your eye, like down one of the hallways. I chalked these happenings/feelings to being in a new house that I was just not used to at the time. The feeling of always being watched only got stronger. You know, it's funny because I actually moved to England when I was 7, and I never felt that I was haunted in that house. I mean, I had the Priory down the street, but Rosada never visited my house. So, like, I can say I've been to a new house when I was 7, and I never felt. So it's like if you're 7 years old listening to this, number one, you probably shouldn't be. But number two, if you've gone to a new house and you think that it's haunted, it's not just that you're in a new house. Chances are it is haunted.
Right. I feel like little kids can feel that anyway.
The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, they see all
Because they're
that
not
stuff.
jaded, because they're not like all adulting. and
Exactly.
stuff.
It's like little kids and dogs or cats, like in Alexandra's story.
Yeah.
So, the feeling of always being watched only got stronger and stranger as the years went on, and so did the paranormal activity. One example that seemed to happen on a few occasions occurred when my sister was watching myself and my 3 other cousins while my parents were at work. We came back to the house after school and we were hanging out in the kitchen. From the kitchen table where me and my cousin were sitting, you could see straight down one of the hallways of the house that leads into my sister's room. It was late into the fall, so the house and outside was starting to get dark, like at 4 o'clock. We were all eating at the table when in my sister's room we heard her radio kick on. At first we didn't think anything of it. My sister walked to her room and switched it off, but definitely was odd and started making the house have that creepy vibe again. We were still in the kitchen and the radio went off again. My sister started getting annoyed, went back to her room and unplugged the radio. But when she came back to the kitchen, she seemed a bit odd. After pestering her to tell us what has her acting all weird, she told everyone that when she walked into her room the first time to turn the radio off, she could have sworn that her closet door was closed, but the second time she went to her room, the closet door was wide open.
Oosh.
So that happened to us when we went to the Queen Anne Hotel in San Francisco, known to be haunted, and that was the one possible...
I got up in the middle of the night, went to the bathroom, and then I left the door open because I had the light on.
Yeah.
When we woke up, it was shut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he continues, I started to think maybe this is a prank that my sister was trying to pull on all of us. But then as we started eating again, I would keep on seeing this black shadow down the hallway in my sister's room dart from one side of the room to the other side of the room, like it was pacing back and forth, which my cousin next to me was also seeing. After pointing out what we saw to my sister, we all felt maybe we aren't alone in the house. Maybe someone broke in or something. We decided to all go to the neighbor's house until my dad got back from work. When he got back from work, we explained to him what was going on. He searched the house and found nothing out of place or to suggest someone broke into the house. He just assumed we were getting spooked for nothing, and it was left at that. Since that occurrence, paranormal activity at the house would happen more frequent, along with the feeling of being watched and shadowy figures at the corner of your eye. We would experience what sounded like footsteps at the other end of the house, doors closing on their own, dogs barking at chasing non-existent things. But one of the weirdest occurrences, and I'm not sure if it's paranormal or just a weird accident that kept on occurring, was out in the garage sometimes. I would pass time in there with my cousin, and we would hang out in there. It seemed like at least one time per week. While we were hanging out in the garage, a bird would fly into one of the windows and break its neck. It seemed like a really consistent occurrence. This would happen and would always make me and my cousin feel distraught over this happening. Years went by and my sister, cousins, and myself would still notice various odd happenings occurring at the house. Footsteps, closed doors, feeling of being watched, toys turning on by themselves, the RC car, for example, shadowy figures. And every time it's brought up to one of the parents, they would just dismiss it. They'd eventually get annoyed anytime we brought anything up, so we reached a point where we stopped talking about what was happening. But as time went by, it seemed like the activity was starting to ramp down. Years later, my sister left the house once she graduated from high school. That's when the activity started to pick back up again. This time, everything seemed to center around my room. The feeling of being watched over was back, along with, on occasion, it felt like a hand being pushed on my back or someone poking me at my side with their finger. My TV, computer, radio would be switched on by itself, and knocks on the ceiling and thuds in the attic above my room would start to happen throughout the night. I eventually would get used to these occurrences, but one night as I was logging off my computer in my room, I turned around to my bedroom door and glanced down the hallway. The hallway was dark and just had a little nightlight in the middle of the hallway. We never really kept the lights on in the house besides the rooms someone was in. Down the hallway was my parents' old bedroom at the end of the hall on the right side of the hallway. I say this is their old bedroom because no one sleeps in that room anymore. It's a master bedroom with its own bathroom, but for whatever reason my dad would sleep on the sofa in the living room, and my mom took over my sister's old room. Nobody sleeps in the master bedroom.
Oh my gosh.
That is weird.
That is crazy.
Or
and they never say anything?
It might just be old people being old and weird.
Oh.
Like, I mean, half the time when Alabama comes in our bed, I just go to her room.
Yeah, but you rather sleep on the couch than the master bedroom?
No, I'm just saying people get weird when they're older.
Yeah.
So
I feel like they're just not saying nothing. Like something happened and they're just not saying anything.
That could be. I was looking down that hallway and slowly saw what I can only describe as a white, shadowy head slowly peek out from the middle of the door frame, about 4 feet from the ground, and slowly move back into my parents' bedroom. The face had no facial features. It just looked like the head shape, and that was it. I was freaked out a bit, but at this point I was a bit braver than I was years past, so I decided to go down the hallway and investigate, thinking maybe it was my dad or the dog or something. Nope.
No.
Just like Alexandra turned around and saw that dip in her pelt, don't turn around.
Don't do it.
Ignore it. Hers actually sounded, because she had like a Barbie doll that was acting up. That sounded like Toy Story.
I know.
You know?
I want to know more about that Barbie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was being pursued by Mr. Potato Head or Woody, maybe.
Yes, in the Barbie car.
As I walked down the hallway, I noticed my dad was sleeping on the sofa in the living room, so it couldn't be him. My mom was at work, so it couldn't be her, and also the bedroom door was closed. I opened the door, turned on the bedroom lights, and no one was in the room. No pets, no one. It was empty. I closed the door and went back to my bedroom. For some reason, once I got back to my room, I looked down the dark hallway one more time and saw a full-body apparition of a man, I think, who looked like he was in his 50s with a handlebar mustache, walk down the hallway towards my room and start to vanish about halfway down the hall just before getting to my bedroom. This happening freaked me out, where I never have felt comfortable at that house ever again. Weird things keep happening, like the random sounds and odd feelings, but I have not seen an apparition or shadow since.
So do you think that that's like maybe the parents saw that guy too?
And they're like, room's all yours, buddy.
And they're not going to tell their kids because they don't want their kids to be freaked out.
What would you and I do if we had like a ghost experience in our bedroom?
Well, I mean, Summer's like open to it and was like about that, so we'd probably tell Summer. But like, if they weren't and that would freak them out, it probably wouldn't say anything.
What if we saw a guy with a handlebar mustache? What if we saw like an actual ghost?
You think we would go and run and tell the kids?
No, but like, would we move?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's like there's the reality of being an adult and having a house that you got a pretty good deal on.
I know.
And then we're in a seller's market right now.
It depends how what was happening. Like
how violent it is.
I wouldn't want to come home and like all my cupboards are open, like crazy stuff like that.
So like, yeah, no, I agree. It's like, how much work do I have to put in to deal with this thing?
Yeah, like how freaked out am I? If it's just little bitty things,
yeah.
I'll be okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, seeing a full body apparition, like, that'd be crazy.
It would like, yeah.
And you wouldn't believe me. That's annoying.
Well, what if we both saw it?
I'm annoyed at you for not believing me when I saw the man with the handlebar mustache.
I didn't do anything.
But I know. I already know.
Like, my assertion was, what if I both saw it? But immediately you go into a you versus me thing. So, what's this chap's name? Peter?
Yeah, Peter.
Peter has some background on his house, too.
So he does? Yeah. I love it. I love background.
In talks with my sister years later, she told me she had conversations with our older next-door neighbor, who described the family who lived at the house before we moved in, and some tragic events that occurred. There was a family of 4, I believe, with the family's elderly grandmother. The grandmother passed away at some point in my sister's room, and our neighbor also told my sister that one day the husband of the house was backing his truck out of the garage and didn't see his son playing in the driveway. He accidentally ran over his son, killing the boy. This led to the husband taking his own life in the garage, where he committed suicide by hanging.
That is so dark.
That is really grim. He says, I don't know if any of this stuff about the previous family is true or not. I started digging around and hope to find any record of these happenings, but I'm waiting on reports back from our city hall from public records. I will let you know if I found anything.
Wow.
Only thing I've been able to find thus far is a man who lived at the house who died on 5/15/91, but the website cannot identify the location of death. In talks with my parents, they now do acknowledge the weird happenings in the house, but claim that nothing has happened in years. The one story my mom has shared with me was that a few days after her mother passed away, she felt like she was being watched while she was doing the dishes. She turned around and noticed the apparition of my grandmother watching her from the kitchen table and then vanished. That is not uncommon also. I was doing a little bit of reading up on people with a recent death in the family or somebody that's close to them will often see that person, and apparently there's some obvious psychological reasons for that.
Right.
But apparently they believe, like, the brain makes them think they're seeing the person, and then the person like disappears or whatever. Or maybe it's just the ghost. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting to me.
So Peter concludes by saying, one thing I do think that factored into the activity of the house when I was growing up was the negative energy caused by my dad's drinking problem. The cops were called to my parents' house on a fairly regular basis while I was growing up for loud arguments and other abusive happenings. And from reading on the paranormal, that type of negative energy or environment can feed the activity.
I've heard that too.
But since then, he has his drinking under control, and the shitty upbringing with that going on has had a somewhat happy ending where no arguments and abuse has happened since.
Well, maybe that's why there hasn't been activity. Mm-hmm. Remember they said it hasn't happened in years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So maybe that's why, because everything got worked out.
There's no more of the apparitions.
Yeah, because maybe they were like,
energy.
Or like maybe it was trying to protect them or whatever.
Handlebar Moustache was like, "Excuse me, good sir.
Please don't do that.
Please stop doing that. I don't have to call the cops again."
That was like really sad about their house.
I know.
Like a little baby boy, man. He's just out there playing.
I always think of my parents' house as like. My grandma died at my parents' house. Like natural causes, but it was like coming time for her, and it was in my sister's bedroom. And this was long after my sister and I had moved out. But it was a very peaceful thing, and my parents were both very peaceful people. And I don't think Aunt Ramona has haunted that place. But you like to think of your childhood home as a place of security and safety, where you can go back there and we always talk about my parents' house like that. But for some people, it's just an absolute nightmare to think about that place.
Well, I think that now that everything's fine, his house is probably fine.
Well, hopefully he has more positive memories of it.
Yeah.
Hopefully nobody will die in this house, but the way you yell at me all the time, I don't know.
Well, what does that mean?
I don't know.
Steven!
I'm just saying.
Stop.
Anyways, that's going to do, as we wipe all the dog hair off us. Thank God you can't see it on camera.
I know.
That's going to do it for this episode of That's Not Scary.
That's Not Scary.
If you're listening to this in the audio realm, leave us a rating, review, or a comment. I haven't checked to see if we have. Let's see here.
Oh, we do have some comments.
We've had some more comments?
Yeah, we've had some more, ratings?
We have. We're up to 27 ratings.
Yes. On our audio.
Here's some, here we go. This is it. Look, first comment here from Easy. Has promised, needs work.
That's like our life.
That's what I said in the last episode. When you said, what would your comment be? Has promised, needs work.
Oh, that's great.
But he did give us 5 stars. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes, has promised, needs work.
Rocky11 says, love the show. Great show. Love hearing y'all's banter and voices. Going in raw listener for several years now. Like seeing this side of Steve. I wish I had a story to contribute, but I do not. We'll just enjoy y'all telling good ones. Guillaume says, love the content. I'm loving the podcast. It's funny and spooky and just all around fun to listen to. It sounds biased because I'm coming from the Friendoverse, but it's still the honest truth. That's Not Scary is awesome. Kudos to both y'all.
Yay.
ECY says, I really love this channel. A supporter coming from Going in Raw. Love the vibes you two give. So thanks everybody for your comments and your ratings. It really does help the show if you leave those and give us positive reviews and comment on the YouTube video.
And send us your stories.
Your
audio files.
So thanks everybody. We appreciate it. And until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Talk to you later.